About this is our political analyst, Brian Sobel. Brian, if the president does go through and pull the United States out of that accord, what would be the significance of that?
Well, America has always been a leader on the world stage, and by pulling out, it would cede its leadership role to some other country. As I mentioned to somebody, the idea of ceding, say, the role that America plays to the largest greenhouse gas producer on the planet, China, which would try to fill the vacuum, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It seems to me the United States needs to stay in that agreement and change it if they think it needs to be changed from within.
Yeah, but President Trump, while he was on the campaign trail, made it very clear that this was something that he was going to pull out of and that he didn't agree with. He said today that he's been listening to a lot of different people. Do you think, though, that this is about him fulfilling his campaign promise?
Heather, that's going to be the question. If he's listening to people like Rex Tillerson and even his daughter who are saying, stay at the table, and yet at the same time he says I have to fulfill my promise to my base, then he's gonna pull out. If he, like on a couple of other positions, has modified it, we may see him actually say, hey, I'm going to take the decision not to pull out of the agreement.
Let's talk about former FBI Director James Comey, who was fired by President Trump. He has now been cleared to testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee. What are you looking for there, and how big a deal is that?
Well, it's big because he's now going to be able to tell his side of the story. Some of his story has already leaked out, as we know. He's confiding in friends, and those friends aren't keeping secrets. So we have some idea of what he may be willing or will say when he testifies. How much he will talk about, we don't know. And also, you know, in previous testimony, he has said he wasn't pressured. So now he's got to come back and say, okay, I was asked maybe to drop the investigation against Flynn, but I didn't consider it pressure. So there's going to be a dance going on here, Frank.
The fact, though, that so much talk has been about the Russia investigation, so much focus has been on that, what type of impact does that have on the Trump administration and on the president in trying to really do what he had hoped to do when he stepped into office?
Well, if every day you wake up and you've got to deal with the Russian investigation instead of all these other initiatives legislatively that you have put forth in the campaign and even at the beginning of the administration, it means that you're not taking care of the people's business. Now, whose fault is that? It's sort of everybody, because people feel like the Russian investigation has legs. They want to investigate it, but at the same time, things are not happening in Congress to take care of very important issues that the American people care about.
What kind of changes do you see the administration making? Do you think at some point Donald Trump is going to change his chief of staff? Do you think he's going to change his press secretary?
Yeah, there are going to be additional changes, and we're hearing that out of Washington, D.C. And, you know, when your press secretary moves from being the press secretary to a caricature, then it's time to move on. You've got to replace that person because his credibility is essentially lost. And now he's being made fun of on Saturday Night Live and everything else. That doesn't accomplish what the administration needs, which is to get the message out correctly and promptly.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk to you again at 6,
Absolutely.
Brian. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you.